Hey guys, it's Will. Hopefully you're having a good day today. In this video, we're going into the top AI stocks that saw a little bit of a correction today, Friday, as we enter this Labor Day weekend. So a couple things to watch that we were paying attention to closely here this week. Number one was that we saw a lot of all-time highs get reached as of recently into the middle of the week, and SPY was kind of due for a correction. Kind of saw it get up into some highs that did continue to run up to 650, and then this was the pullback today as we saw some tech sell off. Now we saw Google hold strong today. We saw SoundHound doing okay after hours. IREN had a really good day, and we're going to break down some companies to be watching right now. So how many of you guys are doing well? It's Friday afternoon. Go ahead and comment any ticker symbols you'd like us to take a look at, and we'll jump right into it. Feel free to let me know if there's any particular ticker symbols you're looking for, and we'll get into it. All right, so see the comment section. I'm going to get into the so we can see what the live chat looks like. Kush is here. What's going on, Kush? RKLB had a good day. That's what Kush says. That's awesome. That's good for our longer term portfolio. Love to see that. Rocket Lab is doing well. You know, even though they're at highs of $50, we could still see them continue to run. Let's take a look at Rocket Lab. What does Rocket Lab look like right now? So we're going to jump in. We could head over to our space tech watch list. Rocket Lab is interesting because they build their rockets with carbon composite, and this carbon fiber, and their rockets are much lighter than other companies. And we've been watching them surge this 21% increase up into this $48 range. Looks like they've been holding true to that trend that we were looking at last time, and they continue to make these moves up into this $48 range. While they're still, seeing some highs, all-time highs, and it's kind of crazy that it was just a year ago or so they were around $3 a share. When we're looking at them now, seeing them up in this $46 range, they're still having some room to run. So when it comes to the technology in space, when it comes to specifically Rocket Lab, they're an end-to-end company. So what does that mean? It means, well, you can see their 70th mission lifted off today. That's pretty cool. We can even watch the launch. I have a friend that works at Rocket Lab that I've known for years. In fact, he's in LA where we're traveling to, or that's where I'm at right now in this Airbnb. So it's possible I might even get to go link up with my good friend Ben, who's a software engineer for Rocket Lab. But they're doing this, the solar cells, they're doing their own software, they're doing, even my friend was saying they're working on their own AI. They do the manufacturing for their rockets, and everything they source really themselves for building their spacecraft. What does that mean? Well, it means that puts them in a position to actually provide solutions for other companies. And one of their main focuses are their missions that they launch for other companies. So if you look at their missions previously, you see they are launching for Black Sky. You got Kanice. This is a company out of where are they from? Gotta confirm where they're from, but they have Starlink like satellites. Let's see, Kanice satellite. Where are they based? I want to say Germany. Let's see. They are from France. France. Okay, so they're from France. And one of the things we look at with Rocket Lab is that development of their missions. They did a Black Sky mission recently. These are the satellites Black Sky has with these 3D, or not 3D, but AI analytics of tracking down on Earth the different movements that are happening. And so really advanced companies that are doing space tech are using Rocket Lab as their go-to. And what that's led to, when we look at the financials, has really been an increase in revenue. If you look annually, you could see back from 2020, just $35 million in revenue, to then 62 to 211 to 244. In 2024, they did $436 million. And then on 2025 balance sheets or revenue statements here, you could see so far they're on track to do over 600 million, so increasing their revenue. The balance sheet looks good too. They see 1.5 billion in assets with liabilities down around 864 million. So on paper, from a valuation standpoint, not really looking like they would continue up into that 40 billion or $50 billion market cap. But from a market perspective and looking at where they're going, we could see them get doubling up to $100 a share or more. And the reason why is because they are taking on a market that puts them at direct competition with SpaceX. So SpaceX, for example, is a $250 billion market cap. 250 billion. So let's say that they get at the capacity and they're launching as much as they're launching, and they launch as much as SpaceX, and they get even better and better like SpaceX. To see them at $100 billion market cap or more wouldn't be ironic, would not be crazy. Ironic's not really the right word. But you see the holders increasing. You got 342 increased positions from institutions. So you got JP Morgan Chase along with BlackRock, Vanguard, Bank of America investing more into the company. And it's because of the future of space tech. We see more satellite companies, more internet space companies, and Rocket Lab is serving to be the vehicle that gets them up into space. So right now where they're holding about $48. I see Johnny says, "What's up, people? What's up, Johnny? Johnny, good to see you." Permabull 47 says, "In Rocket Lab for the past 5 years, average is around $4 at 750 shares. Too bad that I sold most of them at $15. That is an early sell given where they're at now, 48. Rob says, "You think BBAI is going to the fours?" That's a good question, Rob. We could take a look. Kush says, "I bought Rocket Lab because of their Neutron." Yeah, the new rocket they got going. So when it comes to the support levels and the resistance levels, everything else with Rocket Lab, they have a previous resistance here at about $45 a share, which they've broken up above. So if they pull back, they have a support around $45 a share there. The reason it is previous resistance acting as support. It's also down around that 200-day moving average. And then if they are going to make a bullish move, we'd see them up in that $53 range. From here, we're looking at about an 8 to 9% margin for profit on the near term. Probably a little more risk than reward on the short-term trades. Long term, I really like the company regardless, even if their balance sheet is a little bit small. Where they're going in the market, it's going to be huge for Rocket Lab. Yeah, so we're here. I'm at an Airbnb right now, so we're doing a quick video, quick breakdown of some companies that we've been following throughout the week. We got Rob coming in saying, "What do you think about BBAI? Let's take a look at it." So personally, I have long-term positions in Big Bear AI. Don't have any short-term trades going on right now. Looks like from markup, they're building their market cap. We started covering them around $1 a share. And they have made a run up to $10 at one point. Sold off with the greater market down to $2 and then back up to $9. And we have an average of about $2.80 over in the Schwab portfolio. And into the summer, we saw them have a nice spike at $8.72. Sell back down, and they're kind of in this trend right now. So you can see this trend for Big Bear AI where they're kind of holding in between levels, or they are trending down a little bit. We're looking, looks like yesterday when we did analysis of them, we're looking for a bounce somewhere around this 495, somewhere in here, up into this 525. If they're just going to basically continue this trend that they've been doing for the last, well, about 2 weeks. Now, if they're going to be bullish, we're looking for a break above 550 and trying to get back up into the 632 level, which would be more of a bullish level, and still keeping trend and trying to break back up into previous highs. But where they're at right now, they're trying to just hold this $5 price point that we've been talking about, this $5 level that they're trying to hold. And what does it entail? Well, when it comes to the levels at which they're trying to hold, we have a lot of a focus right now on their potential growth into TSA. And I see Tanet is here. Tanet's good to see you. Good to see you. Tanet says, "If BBAI goes to fours, I'll be at a 4K loss. Trade with Rolo says, hey, Will, can you check out QBTS? QBTS, yeah, we could do that for sure. Keystone says, giant pumpkins. Hey, y'all. So, yeah, I mean, when it comes to for example, shift down, let's say force, somewhere in here. I think that would be a very conservative outlook. It would be kind of staying in this bearish trend down to this $4 range, which we do see. And that's most likely if they hit fours, where investor sentiment would really start to turn bullish in those levels. Right now, it's just trying to hold this $5 price point. But the TSA contracts they're going for are related to Homeland Security. They're related to, if you don't know, the company is already doing biometrics and technology for airports. And their previous experience, you could see from the CEO, was the acting secretary of U.S. Department of Homeland Security, and he was also commissioner of U.S. Customs and Border Protection. The green flags for them, and what we've seen have been really good, is that they've continued to deploy into many, many airports. So they've gotten into Denver, they've gotten into JFK, LAX, Chicago with their VeriScan technology, and that's been great. That's a green flag. One of what could be seen as a red flag, so, is that they recently lost a Air Force contract. Wasn't their biggest contract, or sorry, an Army contract, and that was one of their contracts that they were looking forward to continued revenues. Now, when they lost that, and then they reported in the earnings, their financials, they did a call where they didn't really do any question answering at all. And so that was kind of one of the problems I didn't like. I didn't like to see that. But the green flags are that they really increased their balance sheet. So their cash flow, net and cash went up. It rocketed up in the last quarter. Saw their assets surge to 600 million, an all-time high for them. And their liabilities dropped. So assets are up 66% year over year, which is good. But in their restructuring of turning themselves into what is this, company that focuses on the VeriScan, they also have a Panama Canal partnership there. It puts them in a position where now they're having to do some restructuring. We've seen them get probably around 100 of these scanners out into airports for their VeriScan. And that's been good to see it in firsthand basis and actually get to see it impact us and use it. But from a growth perspective, where they're building out is their data. When you're getting thousands and thousands of people coming in and out of the US and you're scanning their face, then you have leverage to partner with airlines, which is what they've done. You have leverage to partner with, the Department of Defense, which they have contracts there, or their Pentagon contracts can expand, which they already have. And that's really where I think they're going to see the most growth in their AI analytics or threat detection technology there. Now, when it comes to Big Bear's moves and where they're at, again, $5.50 support, still holding it throughout this last few days. We'll see if they can continue to hold it. Next level to jump up is about a 4% into that 525, or potentially up into that $6 range for BBAI. That's how it looks right now. Yep, that is the overall direction. But I mean, hey, they're up 500% since last year at this time, so it looks good there. You just see this correction kind of kick in over the last few weeks. That's how it kind of looks. How much manipulation do you see in BBAI? Alex says. Well, the manipulation in Big Bear AI is really only going to be happening around key events that I've noticed. I've seen, tariffs. When tariffs hit, almost every stock sold off in February into April. When earnings came, that's when they sold off right around earnings. I wouldn't necessarily classify it as manipulation, but definitely some institutional selling kicked in there around earnings. But we kind of saw the opposite, right here back when market was booming and they had some big bullish moves. The biggest time that manipulation hits the stock is definitely right after or right when the market is getting ready to open. Time and time again, I see that. So like today, for example, we had our live trading session this morning in StockMate. I know that Alec, I think we were just talking about that, getting there to the live sessions. We were on the phone earlier today. Alec got into our machine, and Johnny Daniels as well is in the machine. Good to see you, Johnny, for what is our AI analytics. And when we're looking at the moves at market open, you kind of see what happened, right? So this is a pretty classic example of what we'll see in the market open session, especially with Big Bear, is when we're watching, let's say, I don't know if I could go back here 1 minute chart. They were spiking right up to 518, spiking up until market open. Market opens and they sold off aggressively, holding below that EMA, all the way down to 495 before looking more like a buy when they started to break above the EMA. So sometimes we'll wait 20 minutes before buying, and then after that, not such a bad trade. It looks like that was a 5% recovery or 4% recovery, excuse me, and then kind of sold off after that through the day. So to answer your question, Alec, we oftentimes, most stocks that are seeing large volume see a lot of manipulation right into pre-market, which follows a distribution phase before accumulation kicks in. And that's why we see a lot of V-shaped patterns at market open. And that's also why we trade live in the mornings, because when we're able to recognize when the accumulation phase kicks in is when we're oftentimes looking for our entries. Michael Anthony says AI bubble. September should be a bad month over overbought markets. Yeah, so when we look at the thumbnail for the video, what does it say? Room to run or something with a red outlook. I've kind of talked about it for a while, but what we have going right now is AI stocks, and every stock in the US is trading at a premium. We see a lot of valuations up. That's why it's important to US stocks see a lot of momentum, and you see more investors moving to AI. There's a reason why. It's not just because there's overvaluations and it's like, oh, look at the hype. People are seeing tremendous value creation in the market as well. And so outside of the overvaluations, there's also this golden age of opportunity where everybody's seeing AI revolutionize technologies. And so a lot of the companies are seeing demand, and then you got data center demand as a result. You got defense demand, drone tech, then you got energy kind of kicking up. Then you got to see, okay, if that's the focus, what about now infrastructure starts to have less attention? Maybe infrastructure or construction or blue collar sells off, and those become better opportunities. So it's all a game of, where the money's moving. And what we could see right now, at least, kind of seeing the top of all-time highs with the AI market, is that there is now a reality shift in, are we going to see that Nvidia beats earnings? Oh, they did crush earnings. So it's almost like, so while things become overvalued, a lot of companies are catching up to that value, and we're seeing them still continue to grow. And so just keeping that in mind from a short-term perspective and a long-term perspective is the timing matters less on the long term. On the short term, you just got to be ready for corrections, things like that. But there still could be tremendous growth in the markets given where we are now. Now, I think that it's also important, especially when we're looking, say, at like AI or space tech, is this is the most important time when stocks get overvalued, or people say it's an AI bubble or whatever, is like that's when you want your short-term trading to be perfectly aligned with the type of companies that you would want to trade, or invest in the long term. Because think about how, when things get tough, basically the stocks that are able to have intrinsic value is when you're able to see value continue to build. And so a good example would be, like Redwire. We were trading Redwire this morning. They're still selling off about 2%. But when we look at their company, for example, they've sold off from $26 down to $8.90. And while a lot of companies are saying, we don't want to trade in an AI bubble, or what, the market's up or what have you, watch out. when you look at some companies, for example, like Redwire, you could go over to your analysis, your three-part analysis. Look at their market. Space tech is growing pretty fast. Look at the financials. Oh, we see they had not a good net income last quarter, but what do we see? Their total assets are now at 1.5 billion. According to Benjamin Graham, a company's valuation, if you want to look for opportunities where the market cap is less than their total assets. Now their total assets are at 1.5 billion. You know, if their market cap's at 1.29 billion, then it means they probably got some room to run. They're in a position where they just signed a $25 million contract. They're still getting Department of Defense contracts. You got the big beautiful bill, or the golden the space dome that is in conversations. And so you want to find opportunities. Like I'm personally in Redwire, and I'm buying when it's down, or Lunar stock, or Black Sky, some of these space tech companies or data center companies, the ones that are bringing tremendous value, but they are not, trading at a premium. You're still getting a good deal. And those are the types of companies that we love to trade. Even if people are talking about an AI bubble, or talking about the AI market being too high, or what have you, because a lot of people that are saying that it's a bubble of AI, which there's no doubt about it. We do see, valuations not matching up with a ton of companies, which we tend to, for the most part, stay out of unless we're seeing a lot of potential for the future of what they're doing. Is that the most important steps that we take during those moments is those people that are saying that, the same people that are saying that, are also the same people that might not understand AI. They might not understand the real value that's being built, or the robotics that are being developed as a result of this AI. And so whoever is saying, it's an AI bubble, it's at the top, it's really important to also like get an idea of who it is that's saying that, and also, looking at the market value. We haven't seen robotics before, but like if you were asking somebody back around the industrial age of like, hey, what's the value of having a manufacturing line, with like, a manufacturing line with conveyor belts that can make the product for you, or what have you, they wouldn't really know the value, and that's tended to be exploded into the industrial age, or what have you. But when you get into robotics, people tend to say, oh yeah, what is the market of robotics? Like robotics could be the biggest market we've ever seen by far. And so some of the companies that are in that market, or even AI markets, or service industries via software that is AI driven, that does work for you, those are markets that will provide tremendous value to the marketplace. A really good example is like the machine we just launched yesterday for our new Grok that we're rolling out here. And rather than like, I could do a stock. What's a stock? There's probably one in the chat here. Let's see what there is. SMCI. Let's see. SMCI. Take a look. So I could search up a stock SMCI here. You know what it's doing for me? It's pulling the relative financials. Okay, it's looking at those earnings reports. It's skimming the press releases. It's looking at those direct from the source news articles for me. It's now using those, or tying them to the relative time frame that you would invest in. And now it just did that research for me to give me projections on the company. Now, if I was doing a lot of this work, it would take me a lot of time to do that. But we're able to get AI to do it all for us, and get a projection for the company with reasoning behind what is going into that analysis. And that's just one of the tools that I'm personally using, that we developed. And if you guys want to see the breakdown of the machine with Mercatus, it's the first link in the description. There's a full presentation. It's really exciting. Our team had a blast building out the release of this. And so if you want to see it, right now we're on OpenAI. I can switch over to Grok right now. And I could search a stock as well. A good one is like AMD. And now we're getting the Grok analysis. But again, just a really good, example of like, even just right in front of us, how we're seeing it. I've seen robotics delivering food while I'm here in LA. I've seen Waymos, giving rides to people in LA here. It's been crazy, whenever we go traveling. So definitely. Cardman says, "Is Mercatus free?" It's free to watch the release, but for Mercatus, there's a really great deal that you can find when you go watch it. That will give you a bunch of bonuses for free, including Stockmate. But no, it's not for free. But there you get some bonuses that are free. We'll send you a free T-shirt. You get Stockmate as a bonus. You get our virtual stock train system for free. So there's some really great bonuses along with it in our current launch offers that we're putting together. But yeah, so that's kind of the outlook for there. Now, one of the things that I want to hear from you guys is, what do you guys think about some of the top data center companies? What are you watching right now? I'm curious to know what you guys are watching. Big CEO says, should I buy a BMW 320i or a 330i? 325. It's a 325, isn't it? AMD, Michael Anthony says, AMD report earnings before Nvidia that both saying slow in data centers. Slow down are the biggest that both went up fast to correct. Yeah, I saw that. AMD, though, saw record numbers, making more money from their data center sector because they're expanding there. Nvidia saw a little bit of a slowdown. Johnny says, AI is just getting started. Yeah, I think so. All right. Yeah, so Johnny says, taking a look at APLD, and there was someone earlier that commented QBTS. So we'll take a look at those real quick. I'm going to a quantum conference, I believe, this week. I think I'll be there in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It's actually where I was born before I ended up going to California. But you can see QBTS is trying to find a support level at about $15.50. Kind of see that level trying to hold. It did break below the 200-day moving average. It did start to sell back down. And it's trying to hold that support level at about $14 a share. What might be more likely for QBTS on the near term, given their valuation and their real world value of what they've seen in their earnings, so they might see something like this trend right here. Okay, it might be steep. Just watch out. They have a support there right now at about again, 1550 that they're trying to hold. No, excuse me, 1450. But the next target, if they can't break out above $16 right now, would be a sell down to about $14.50, or potentially down into this $13 range, a 17% sell down there for QBTS, just to watch out for. Now, if they break above this level, they're still going to face some resistance up at $17.50. They break above $16. So just watching them closely here as they're approaching some resistance. One thing to note about QBTS, when I was at a conference speaking with the company, they had some really interesting quantum announcements that they had. But net income was coming in pretty negative. You could see they came in negative 167 million with the balance sheet up, and they see they have some cash. Still waiting on really the revenues to increase. So with their $5 billion valuation, there's still a tremendously high valuation given where they are at currently. So just keep that in mind. While we want to, look at what could be, they are very many multiples above their true market value given their revenue. So there is some buying what could be there currently. And that's why we're kind of watching those levels, maybe that sell down again into that $14.50 to $12 range. Just watch those levels as they're the key supports. Hopefully it's helpful for you. Thanks so much, Rolo, for tuning in. Appreciate you. Awesome. I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Hopefully your Friday's going well. Hopefully your end of your week is going well. Ramazan says, what do you think about Lumentech? Is that Luminar Technologies? If I'm not mistaken, they have some technology going out into Hyundai and some other automotive manufacturers for autonomous vehicle driving. So I think they're in a good spot. I don't know about where they are from a chart perspective. It's LAZR. They've been selling down. They're down to $1.70. Kind of watching some downtrends kick in here. They've oversold pretty heavily. Let's take a look at where they are from a financial perspective. $122 million market cap. Not any good data for me to work with right now. But we do like the market they're in. Not in the best shape right now where they're heading, but they're in a good market. See them sell down. Wow, pretty aggressively sold down here from July 24th. But we did see some manipulation on the stock at one point. I think that's why we don't cover it as much. Because we saw them consolidate, but we saw some manipulation at one point. I think it was back here, January of this year. They had a big like boom, boom, spike down and then sold down, consolidated. And they kind of sold down ever since. We've seen them sell down here. Yeah, just kind of selling down. Not at a support or anything. They're just kind of sold off. A little more dangerous, a little more risky, high market cap. I would want to get a better look at their financials, really. It's been a while since we looked into them. Let's see. Giant Pumpkin says, I'm stockpiling a lot of 2x short selling ETFs for trading. All right, be careful, but nice. Can you do a black sky? Black sky. Take a look. John Nicken says Hawaiian Electric. Interesting. I was thinking about that. It's kind of almost a easy monopoly with some companies out there in Hawaii. Danette says Black Sky. All right, Black Sky is the one. All right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Oklo. Okay, yeah, we did a full breakdown of Oklo the other day. That was one that could be good long term, but really risky in the short term. So let's take a look. BKSY. Go over to our Space Tech watch list. Let's see where they're at. So we were watching a resistance level. Looks like last time we were looking at them, we were looking for a 19% increase. They made that increase from $15 over the last week. They, or maybe, yeah, week and a half, they made it from $15 to $18, which is about a 20% increase. Found that level as a resistance. So there's been this little downtrend on Black Sky where they kind of been getting rejected. And the good news is when they sold back down to this some long-term positions on Black Sky, covered them pretty extensively. But essentially they're in the market of AI in space tech. And they have this AI satellite that can identify ships, cars, people, can identify basically airplanes, has very HD imagery of satellite imagery of anything down on Earth. It's pretty solid for being able to see, the ports of entry. From a defense perspective, you could see, any threats in and out of the U.S. or anywhere else in the world. So Black Sky's definitely got some advantages there. What we saw them come out with news-wise is doubles down on Aussie NEI partnership. They got some Gen 3 satellites they recently launched with Rocket Lab. So Rocket Lab, if you head over to their missions, go to their missions launched. Rocket Lab put a bunch of Black Sky satellites into space recently. Those Gen 3 satellites we were just going over, the payload. And that mission was successful. They got their high resolution imagery and AI enabled analytics for daily intelligence operations. The other thing about Black Sky that's interesting, I don't know if you guys know this, but they got multi-million-dollar contracts, but they're with not just the US, but other international contracts. So they work with private companies as well. So again, $17 support. They're trying to first make this run up into this $18 range. That's a 10% margin. And then we'll be watching at market open on Monday or Tuesday, because they're closed on Monday, see if they can make that run up in that $22 range sometime soon. We'll see the greater market direction could have effect on Black Sky, but that's how the current levels look for them. Love it. Okay, you got AMPX. We've been doing some AMPX. We did some analysis of them yesterday. See, I got time for one more. So we could jump into AMPX real quick. Let's take a look. AMPX. All right, so last we were looking for AMPX was this potential run up into these levels. It did make a 18% run and then it sold back down a little bit further. Still in trend right now. Let's take a look at their financials and everything else. So Amplitech, AMPX. So financials, revenue has been increasing quarter over quarter and annually up into last quarter, $15 million, an all-time high. Net income's up 49% per year, and their total assets have been rising year over year, increasing their balance sheet to be positive with their liabilities down. So, it's actually a really good indication that they're healthy financially. You see that increase in revenue, while their net income has actually narrowed, meaning they're becoming more disciplined. Their market cap is at 877 million, which indicates that there could be a lot of volatility and be a little risky. They are proudly the only U.S. manufacturer of 5G, lowest noise figure, Ka-band, LNBS for satellite ground stations, lowest noise figure, 4K cryogenic amplifiers for quantum computing. So we're working for quantum computing. They have a lot of tech. They're pretty kind of old school, and how they have their website looks pretty like old school, right? Which is fine. The clients include Stanford University, U.S. Air Force, Teledyne, Viasats. They're working with that satellite company there, and Warner Bros. Actually. So they work in particularly going to be related to 5G and semiconductors, and even a little bit of quantum tech. What I like is they're pretty like unhyped. We could take a look at their AMPX. Let's see, do they have a lot of hype or no? Let's see. They have a fair amount of hype, but their financials don't look bad though, so it doesn't really draw me off. In fact, they improved in 2025. In their balance sheet, they have cash. There's no like risk of bankruptcy. So it doesn't feel like a overly stretched pump. It's not like every hour. It's an article probably once a day for them. And they've been around a while, since about 2008. So a little bit small on the employee side. Just 100 employees is pretty small for for an $877 million company in manufacturing. So that's a little bit of a weird thing to see there. And I don't know if they have maybe careers. Kind of get a look, see who they're hiring here. That's a strange one. When you go to the careers page and you don't see any job openings. So just a little bit weird, a little bit strange. There's two things that make me feel a little strange is the lack of job in the career section that they're hiring, and that they have 100 employees when they're $877 million company. The good rule of thumb is around 100 employees per 100 million. Not always is that the case, but generally speaking, that's kind of how it usually looks. So just something to consider. Hopefully that's helpful. Yeah, they're at a support here. They're trying to hold above that $6.50 price point. And overall uptrend looks good. Just trying to make their recovery. Looks like next target, they're going to face resistance right here around $7.90 or $8 a share. Right here, that's going to be the level. Previous resistance acting as support, resistance right there. That's where they're going to try and bounce here up into those levels. You also got a support level more or less also acting as resistance there, right there around $6 or $7 really. So looking for a jump from $7 maybe up into that $7.87. But as soon as they break the $7 price point, if they start to sell down, next support level is going to be down here, a lot lower. Talking about 621, which not the most favorable. If you see that sell down, it's about a 10% sell down. So they offer about 15% to maybe 40% sell down risk, about 10% there. So not anything crazy on the deal side. They're actually a little overbought at the moment. And then from a valuation standpoint, how do they look from a valuation standpoint? Looks like, okay, market cap 877 million, 123 in assets, 15 million. Yeah, their valuation's a little high. Don't see the PE ratio, but I'd imagine it's probably around like 60 or 80. So just keep that in mind. Awesome, guys. Hey, I appreciate you all. Thanks so much for tuning in. I had something earlier today. I don't know, or earlier I had some lunch, and I can't do soybean oil. It always messes me up. And I had some soybean oil and some like shrimp. It was a nice, beautiful restaurant, beautiful view of the ocean. Got to have a good time. But had some food, messed me up with soybean oil. Had a headache like all day today. Now I feel like things are winding down, getting ready for this Friday night to close out. But I appreciate y'all. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you have a good rest of your Friday. We had an awesome session, got over some good companies so far. When it comes to top AI companies we're watching, just a general overview, we're going to have our eye on Rigetti, IO and Q. We might could do a quantum conference this next week. We're going to have our eye on NVTS, Navitas, along with NVIDIA, Taiwan Semiconductor. You can take a screenshot too. These are our top semiconductor companies. Over there on the left side there, you can see that. And then we also got some data center companies we're watching pretty closely, see if those can continue to heat up. Had a red day today, so we'll be watching closely. Same thing with robotics, really starting to build that robotics list as we start to see them get some more momentum this last week with some recent bills that were passed for some robotics developments. And AI and large language models are going to be a lot of companies we'll be watching this next week throughout after this holiday weekend. Hopefully you guys have a good holiday weekend. Again, appreciate you all. If you want to join us in our stock meet daily live trading session, you can check the first link below. That will get you access to this machine that we were talking about here, that we were doing projections, which has been a game changer for us and also other investors. I would encourage you to take a look at the first link. If you want to watch me trade live, see my entries, see my exits, it's included there in the first link below. And then when it comes down to the like button, smash it if you got value. Appreciate you all. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care, guys. Bye now. Have a good weekend. Happy Friday nights. Thanks, Madi, for tuning in. Tesla, I won't forget you. I'll get there. Super microcomputer. We'll take a look to net. Yeah, of course, for Black Sky. Glad we could review it. Thanks, Kush, for tuning in. Giant pumpkins. I saw your pumpkin. I watched your video. You got a huge giant pumpkin. It's awesome. It's an awesome video. Congrats on the huge pumpkin that you got there. Michael Anthony Sound. Love it. Thanks for tuning in. Johnny, Cardman, Ramazan. Appreciate you all. Thanks, Rob, for tuning in. Appreciate you. Alex, thanks for tuning in. All right, I'll see you guys in the next one.